I always thought I surrendered every part of my life to God, but in November last year, a conversation made me realise that when it came to creativity, I'd been holding back. It hit me that I'd been relying on everything around me for inspiration, everything except God. It was a real aha moment. I sat there thinking, hang on, he's the greatest creator of them all. He made me in his image, which means everything I need is already in him. Yes, he might use the world around me as resources, but ultimately God is the conductor. With this new perspective, I prayed for clarity and direction. The very next day, as I sat at my desk, ideas started pouring in. That night, I woke up mind buzzing with inspiration and grabbed my phone to jot everything down. This is how it works for me. It's all in my head. I dream, I sit in silence, or I'm just at my desk and the ideas flood in. Once I have them, I go old school. I write everything down on paper before transferring it to my laptop. Then I use ChatGPT to refine the jumbled notes like my own personal assistant, helping me shape the vision God's given me. When I first started, I wouldn't say I didn't really have a real structure. I was like, I just need to get this done, get it out. And I do wish that from the very beginning, I kind of had a solidified structure that was able to bend and change where needed, but just to have a foundation of, okay, this is all the things that need to happen to produce a magazine. I think at the very start I thought, okay, I write, I'm visually mature, I'm creative, so I can do this. And I did, but in hindsight, I do wish that I had planned a bit more. I know people say, oh, just get it done and then, adjust along the way. That's great, but I would have preferred to have really planned it out. Nevertheless, it's a year later, 4 magazines have gone out, and I did it, and we did it. And I guess from idea to execution, this is how it has started and ended. And we're going to start with number one. Number one, first, is just the theme. What is the theme for this issue? I started the magazine last year, March 2024, and the first theme was Roots to Blossom, and the yearly theme was about growth and understanding your roots and working on whatever was necessary to improve and mature in yourself. Coming up with a theme was never hard because it never was like me sitting there thinking, what's the theme going to be today? What's it going to be for this next quarter? It always came to me beforehand. So the first issue was released in March, and I had the theme for the year before, like November. So I knew what I was doing. And I guess naturally there's influences around you. I think the theme within my church was very much about roots as well. But I had actually had that theme before any teachings, and that just solidified that was going to be the theme. But generally, the very first step is coming up with a theme and then using that theme to kind of set the agenda for the rest of the magazine. So secondly, this only came after this first issue, so the format. I realised that I hadn't laid it out in a way that was magazine worthy, and the second issue was like, okay, let's improve on this. So I kind of scrapped the format of the first one completely, and the second issue became the template going forward. So next is structure, and yeah, that's that. Number three is getting a deck done. So normally a color deck, mood board, just around the theme and what is the consensus for the next issue? What is the color scheme, and how can I kind of tie that into not just the visual layout, but also the content that goes in there? Like, what are we focusing on? Obviously, the second one was the first issue that I did a photo shoots, one main editorial and another one. And yeah, it was just understanding what the vibe was. And I believe that issue was like red and black and white, and just kind of getting a deck down, so I kind of knew I had a guideline of what to follow. Number four, I'll go ahead and research into potential features for the magazine based on the theme. So like the last issue before this final issue was Comparison the Silent Killer. So it's kind of looking into potential people I could talk to, or what articles are going to be written, like what are the topics based on the theme and kind of write down based on the structure that I've already done. So let's say fashion, there's going to be 3 articles, beauty, this, and X, Y, and Z, and then just almost decide what that's going to look like in terms of articles, features, imagery, and have that written out. And it obviously can change and has changed, but it's just to have in my head, okay, I know I need around 3 articles for this based on this theme. Where can I go? Who can I talk to? And then there's that. Number 5. So once that's done, I can then send out my email. So I use a database that I have and the groups that I'm in, the amazing groups that I'm in, and I kind of reach out and say, basically, this is the theme, this is what we're doing. We're looking for, based on obviously what I've just kind of written down. If there's anyone that's interested, there's that side of it. And then there's the very specific and intentional emails to particular individuals that I think would fit in the magazine. And then there's the emails to writers that have already contributed or have reached out, and this is what the theme is. And I kind of give them free range of, based on the theme, like articles that they can write. And then there's that. So number 6, I then decide on the fashion editorial. So although this magazine was about substance for me and like a lot of more written content and stories, I come from a fashion background, and that will always be incorporated in the things I do. So when I'm doing the structure beforehand, I know that there's going to be a photo shoot, but I don't necessarily know exactly what the photo shoot is going to be. And number 6 is where I will spend time on, okay, I've kind of got feedback from different people on who's going to feel this, who's going to feel that. Now I can focus on the editorial and what that's going to look like, and I'll do the mood board for it and figure out who I need to be a part of that photo shoot to bring it to life, set a budget, all of that done. Number 8 is when I will get back the responses from people, and then set up interview meet updates, or whether it's in person or online that I'm talking to people, get that all sorted in the calendar, ready to go within the month. So I like to get all interviews done within 1 month. So for example, this latest issue, I got 90% of them done in January, and I only had like 1, 2, which I did today, which is February, and then I'll do next week. But generally I like to get it all done in 1 month. So I will set up all of those meetings, and then I'm ready to go. Once I've done that, I will get all the interview questions for each individual person done, written up. So I'll do my research on them, get them to send me things, just like a brief introduction. And then based on the information that I know on the theme, I will then write questions, intertwining the two for each person, have a breakdown of their intro, the questions, the location that we're going to go to, and have all that planned. Then we move on to the actual interviews, the meeting up, getting it done. For the interviews, I will record a voice recorder, and then I'll transcribe it, and then sit for hours writing it up and then forming it into how I want it to be represented, whether it be an actual just question and answer, like actual interview, or a story, them telling me a story, and just figure out how it's then gonna be written up. So I'll then do that. Number 12 is when all articles, features, interviews are done, written up. They may not be placed, but they are written up, and I've gone over all of them, approved if it's coming from an outside source, and just approved everything that's going into the magazine, so that I know this is the final cut and it now needs to be put into a magazine format. Once that's done, we move on. Number 13 is proofread everything, get everything that is going into the magazine format. So I use Canva and Adobe. So for the first 3 issues, I just used Canva, and Canva's great and all, but Adobe is 10 times better. So this last issue, I've used Adobe for the layout. I've still used Canva, almost like, all right, let me place it all in. and then I've transferred it over to Adobe, which is just so much better. The dimensions are better, I can do a lot more. And yeah, so I get all that done, and once that's in, proofread, ready to go, I will then print a copy or two to be sent to me at least 2 weeks before it is due to be published. And that's for marketing reasons and just so I can see it and have it and do what I need to do with it. Then we move on to social media. So obviously during this whole process, I'm still posting, but the social media will be then done for the month of the magazine launch. So all social media content I will then begin to plan content days, and what I basically have a spreadsheet of all social medias Monday through to Sunday. I don't normally post on the weekends, but have that all there, and what is going to be posted on each day, where it's going to be posted, if the content needs to be created, whether it's already been done, that all goes in, and that is a month in advance, ready to then just be done. And within that, once I have that done, I will then begin to start creating that content that needs to be created, and just then scheduling things ready to go. So I just schedule, like for Instagram, LinkedIn, if I'm using LinkedIn, I will just schedule the content with all the captions, everything ready to go, so I don't have to think about it, and it's all ready to go at least a week before the posting starting. Then finally, once all that is prepped and done, I can then focus on the actual website. So there will always be a refresh for the new issue, and I probably would have already planned what I'm gonna do by just writing out, okay, the homepage is gonna have the magazine cover, something else, and that's it. So I kind of have an idea of what it's going to look like, but that is the last thing I do. I change everything on the website according to the issue, and then once it hits midnight on the 7th of March, it gets published, and then I'm done, and then I start the process all over again.